Hi, parents, welcome. Today we have a very, very important, urgent matter, and I'm so glad that you are here. Let me know if the technology is working okay. Let the audio know that before it's so important, and we don't want you to miss anything. Now, if you have been going through a lot of challenges with the system, where you feel like people don't understand you, where you feel like nobody's listening to you, where you feel like everything is up against you. This has a lot to do with that. And this has to do with misinformation, with the blatant use of misinformation in an agenda that actually is completely damage. It is caused irreparable damage to children and families and to you. So let me know if the audio is okay. Let me know where you're calling in from. I would really appreciate that. And with me today, we have a special guest, Dr. William Bernet, who is a forensic psychiatrist from the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Bernet. Now, the topic that we're going to be talking about today is that recently there was a report that was released by the special, how do you say that, rapporteur?
It's a French word, but it's special rapporteur, but it means a special reporter.
Okay, rapporteur. Yeah, the special rapporteur who did a report to submit to the Human Rights Council at the United Nations. And this report is what we're going to be talking about. So when this report came out, and thank you so much, Claudia. I'm so glad that you can hear me. And I wonder how many of you guys have seen or heard about this situation or this report. But this report is supposed to come out to look at the particular topic of parental alienation and violence against women and children. And since United Nations is such an authoritative organization when it comes to human rights issues and things like that, this report has some really important weight when it comes to how the rest of the society look at this, including professionals and government officials, and in many countries, not just this is a very widespread impact that this report could potentially have. So what we was hoping that there would be some kind of objectivity when the way this report was done, but instead we actually see something very different. So I'm going to leave a lot of it to Dr. Bernet, who will explain this. So I'm curious, could you, maybe before we go into this, could you provide some background into actually first about the special rapporteur? What is her background, and where does she stand when it comes to topic of violence and parental alienation?
Well, this is a really important topic, and there are two documents that we're going to be mentioning several times. One is called the report, and the other one is called the analysis. So just to try to keep straight which is which. When we say the report, we mean a document produced by a component of the United Nations. And the name, and this is produced under the jurisdiction of a function called the special rapporteur, which means the special reporter. And the United Nations uses this in many different situations. It's basically a way for them to have a study done, some kind of research done by an outside person, an outside expert. And then they basically hire or contract with this outside person to produce a research report. And they're called the special rapporteurs, and they use the French language to say that. But, and many different components of the United Nations use that. It's a way for the UN body, the General Assembly, and committees to get research done without doing it themselves. So in this case, a component of the General Assembly of the United Nations is the Human Rights Council. And they have a standing arrangement to have studies done by a special rapporteur who has changed over the years. This position has been in place for 20 or 30 years, and there have been several people who have held this position. The person who currently holds the position of the special rapporteur for this topic is a woman named Reem, R-E-E-M, Al-Salem, Al-Salam, A-L-S-A-L-E-M, who is from the Middle East. I think she's from Jordan, or perhaps Syria. And she has been to a lot of graduate school. She's very educated. She's very articulate. And she is very, very concerned about domestic violence. And so the particular topic that she investigated starting a year or so ago is called Custody, Violence Against Women, and Violence Against Children. So that was the general topic. But the problem is that when she started studying this, she focused almost entirely her report on parental alienation. And it's a tremendous criticism of parental alienation in many, many different ways. So now she already had a negative opinion of parental alienation even before she started this project. How do we know that? Well, we know that because there's information on the internet of what she had done. She had given a talk to the Human Rights Commission in Mexico, in which she said to them that she was criticizing parental alienation, and she thought that it should be suppressed. And she gave a talk at this commission called the Commission on the Status of Women last year, in which she said the same thing. In fact, the name of the event that Ms. Al-Salam was the chairperson of was Child-Centered and Non-Discriminatory Custody Cases Against the Pseudo Theory of Parental Alienation. So even before she ever started this project, she was opposed to this idea. Another thing she did, the government of Brazil passed a law several years ago making it illegal to engage in alienating behaviors. Ms. Al-Salam has gone to Brazil and has written a letter to the president of Brazil saying that that law should be changed and removed. So we know that in her past history, the special rapporteur has already formed a negative opinion about parental alienation.
So she's biased before anything. And going into this analysis, this research that she supposedly be doing for the United Nations, for the Human Rights Council, she essentially said, I'm going to try to do analysis to see if this ugly pen is ugly.
Yes, that's what she did. That's what she did. And it started last year. There are certain procedures you go through if you do one of these reports. You first of all make an announcement that to the public and to all these different countries. I mean, this announcement goes everywhere in the world that you're doing a report on a particular topic, and you invite input. You invite submissions from regular citizens and from legal people and from professional people and mental health people, and thousands of people sent in submissions to the special rapporteur regarding this topic. And then they spent several months analyzing the results and organizing them and producing the report that came out about a month ago. Now, I'm speaking on behalf of the two organizations that put together the response to the report. One is the organization that I'm the president of, the Parental Alienation Study Group, and the other are our colleagues in Mexico, which is called GARI, P-A, G-A-R-I-P-A, Global Action for Research Integrity in Parental Alienation. And together, several members of these organizations quickly wrote up an analysis of the report that was published by the United Nations. We did this all very quickly. And in fact, we published it yesterday. And actually, I guess on Friday. And then we also had it printed. The printing copy came out today. This is what it looks like. In other words, let's see, it's kind of hard to get this in focus, but the original report is called the Report from the General Assembly. Oh, there it is. That's what our analysis looks like. And it turned out really nicely. It's nicely formatted. It looks very professional. And what we did in this is we systematically looked at the report that was done by the special rapporteur, and we criticized many, many, many aspects. And we're distributing.
So yeah, sorry, before you go on, I just wanted to emphasize again, this report is a collaborative effort from the PASG, which is the Parental Alienation Study Group, and GARIPA, which is the Global Action for Research Integrity in Parental Alienation. And these two groups represent a collaborative effort from experts, from victims, from advocates from all around the world. And so this is a very international collaborative effort. And so this report came out and is available publicly on the video that you are watching right now. On the description of it, you'll find the link to the report. If you have trouble getting a copy of the report and the analysis of the report, let us know. But we have the links to both of these for you guys. And let us know if you want to see the exact copy. And I also mentioned in the comment, you guys, I do see some of you guys respond, like Sandra and Equish Parenting and Crystal and Claudia, a few different people, Sandy, thank you. We will send, if you guys wanted to contact the United Nations representative for your country, let us know, and let us know that you are interested, and your country, we will let you know the name of the person and the email address so that you can contact them to raise your concern about this report that came out. And it's very critical, it's very urgent matter, because there's a meeting on the 19th, June 19th. There will be a meeting where this report is going to be presented to the Human Rights Council and the UN. So it's very important that if you feel that this is critical, is for you to contact the representatives well before the 19th. And we really don't have a lot of time. And this is why the analysis was done very quickly. I'm sorry, yeah, please continue, Dr. Bernet.
Yeah, what Petra says is very important. We are doing everything we can to get our analysis out to people involved with the United Nations. And what you can do yourself is get a copy of the analysis online and send it to every country in the world, at least every member of the United Nations has a representative, an ambassador who represents the country in the United Nations. And now a number of countries also belong to the Human Rights Council. Actually, I think there are 37 countries that belong to the Human Rights Council. So you can send our analysis by email to the ambassador, and you can also try to send it to the specific person who represents your country on the Human Rights Council. Now, we've already sent copies to those people, but we need to have more and more people do it. And especially if you're from a particular country, you can speak on behalf of your country and to why this is important to you as a person. So we hope that you can help us influence the Human Rights Council of the United Nations, because what we want them to do is we want them to reject the report that was done by the special rapporteur. We want them to say, well, no, thank you. We are not going to adopt your report.
I wanted to highlight something kind of, a lot of the time people think that, for example, when we hear things like, oh, the United Nations make a decision, or, when you say, for example, Microsoft does X and Y, or Google does X and Y, it's never an organization that does something. It's the people within the organization that do things. And so the same thing with this thing with United Nations is this report, even though it came out and it's published through the United Nations, it's by one person. And so if you wanted to fix something like this, when something is wrong, you need to alert all the people within that organization so that this can be fixed. It's people. It's very important for you to recognize it's the people that making this decision. And so for us to reverse the potential damage of this report, it's very important for a lot of voices from you guys to make the difference. So you need to contact all these representatives. And even though there may be someone else already, for example, from the United States to contact the reps, the ambassador for the United States and the representative at the Human Rights Council for the United States. But it's not enough just one person saying it. If there's multiple people, like many people contacting the same person, this person will go, oh, all right, this is an important matter, because otherwise they are busy. They have a lot of issues. We have, as is, human rights have a lot of issues. And this is a very important issue because it deals with children. And so if you don't do anything and if you underestimate the power of your email, you will miss out on the opportunity for this whole community. So it's very important for you to take a few minutes to send that email and raise that concern and mention how this is impacting you and your children and how, whatever it is that is specific to you. But it's so important for this one person and another person and all these different people in the United Nations to go, oh, I'm getting so many emails from different people talking about the same issue. This must be important. There must be a problem here, so that they can say something. And then if one country raised something and said, oh, I heard a lot of people in my country said that there's a problem, then other ambassadors in other countries said, oh yeah, me too. I also got a lot of emails. And then now suddenly as a council, they will sit down and go, okay, why don't we take a closer look at this report? Because otherwise they're just going to go, oh, we hired them. They have some expertise in the field. They have, education. So we're just going to be okay with it. So if you don't say anything, this report will just get approved and it'll be fine. And then it will create long-term impact, widespread worldwide impact to your children and generation of future children. So if you wanted to send that few minutes, takes that few minutes to send those emails. And then if we can have enough people, then if one ambassador speak up, other ambassador can go, oh yeah, I noticed the same thing. Then suddenly you can actually start to slow down the momentum of this time bomb, really. And then people can go, okay, let's take a closer look at this report. Let's see what's wrong with it. And then maybe they then take a closer look at the analysis and go, oh, we see these are the problems. And actually, I wanted to highlight, I look at just to open out the executive summary, the introduction of the analysis. I thought they are very, very strong word. And so I do wanted to bring that up, but at the same time, I also wanted for you to go in, Dr. Bernet, and explain in more detail. Obviously, we're not going to go into line by line because these are long analysis and parents can go through the analysis. But these are very strong words. So for example, this report had many misleading statements, extensive misinformation, blatant errors, use of science denial techniques, and deliberate misrepresentation of the current state of peer-reviewed published research, scientific inquiry, and case law. And these errors are so, I don't know how to say this word, I don't know.
Egregious.
Egregious. These errors are so egregious that we believe they constitute a deliberate attempt to mislead mental health professional, legal professional, and essentially the Human Rights Council and the United Nations, and essentially to the whole world. So this, and I saw the comment in the chat room from Dinger that said, what about the corrupted family court? Now, if you think that the family court is a problem, this here is going to have a huge impact in the family court, because when you go to court, people are going to say, oh, look at that. Even the United Nations said that parental alienation is not real. So your pain and your suffering doesn't exist. We don't believe that that's valid. So the alienator is going to use that in court, and you will have trouble fighting for your children. So this is so important. And then he said, the report is unreliable and dangerous, and the misinformation is likely to cause irreparable harm for children. And what you are asking is for the Human Rights Council to immediately withdraw the report from publication and prohibit any component of it, prohibit the United Nations from relying on it. So this is a very important thing, is to recognize that this report is really, really bad, and it will cause serious damage, and that the action that needs to be taken is for the UN to withdraw this report and to prohibit the use of it. So these are the key things. So the call to action for you is to send out the emails to the United Nations ambassador for your country. And if your country have a representative within the Human Rights Council at the United Nations, then send the email to that person as well. And if you need the email addresses for these two people for your country, let us know in the comment and we will give you the email address for those people. But yeah, I'm going to leave it to you, Dr. Bernet, to comment on these and any content of the analysis.
Let me explain that this introduction is worded very strongly. I got to tell you that in the first draft, it was even more strong. I'm afraid we used language that might have been considered inappropriate. And so we toned it down to get the way the introduction is currently worded. And then we have an executive summary. And so all these things are only in 2 or 3 pages. If somebody's very, very busy, all they need to read is the introduction and the executive summary. But what I want to tell you is I need to summarize to you what we found wrong. Why are we complaining about all this? And there are 2 general things that we commented on in our analysis. And the first one is pervasive bias. We thought it was easy to identify pervasive bias in the way the report was organized. I guess it's in the next page. There it is. And so I'm going to tell you some examples of pervasive bias that we use. But then I said there were 2 main things. The other main thing are misleading and statements and misinformation. So what's interesting about the bias is illustrated actually on the page that Petra had up a second ago, is the language. It's so simple to see that the language that they use is pejorative about the concept of parental alienation. See at the bottom of the page here, they use this phrase over and over again, referring to parental alienation as a pseudo concept. That means it's a non-scientific concept. And that's a somewhat unusual phrase, as I've seen it before, but I've never seen it used over and over again. We counted them up. That phrase is used 20 times in this statement, and the statement isn't even 20 pages long. But this thing referring to parental alienation theory as a pseudo concept is a really good example. You know, this is what misinformation people do, is they state a lie and they say it over and over and over again until the reader starts to believe that what the lie is really true. So that's an example of what we're calling pervasive bias. Another big example is, what do they rely on? See, they sent out this request for inputs and they received thousands of inputs, and many of them were from individuals and many of them were from people who are very concerned about domestic violence and who don't like the idea of parental alienation. Well, that's what they relied on. This entire document that they produced by the special rapporteur quotes over and over and over again the opinions of the people who are opposed to parental alienation. Many of these are simply individuals. Some of them are websites. Some of them are Facebook pages. But they don't quote at all anywhere people who are in favor of parental alienation. It's really striking how, in fact, here, Petra is showing you right now some of the people that we know. We know that a whole list of people sent in inputs supporting the concept of parental alienation. We know about 20 or 25 groups or individuals who did that. And it is so striking that not one of those is quoted in this report. In other words, the basis for the opinion of the report is totally from people who are opposed to parental alienation and totally ignoring people who might have some interest in being in favor of parental alienation. I mean, I don't know how strongly to say that, but that is an extremely biased way of producing a report that is supposed to be information for a government agency like the United Nations. So those are 2 really good examples of the way that they use bias, or that the whole report is driven by bias. So that was one big heading. And the other big heading are the examples of misinformation, what we call blatant misinformation. And here we cite maybe 30 or 40 examples where we say something is incorrect or something is misleading. And let me see if we can give you a couple of examples. Well, I'll give you a very common saying that comes up in these cases is they say, here, right there, at the bottom of the page that Petra has up, the report falsely states that parental alienation theory has been dismissed by medical, psychiatric, and psychological associations. Now, if you do any reading on this subject, you've heard that many times. They say there's no professional organization in the United States that has ever endorsed the concept of parental alienation. And that is simply a lie. And that's what it states in this report from the special rapporteur. We've seen this so many times that we've done our own research, and we can easily document that it actually has been adopted or endorsed. I guess the better word is endorsed. If you go up here just a half a page, and you can see the names of some organizations that have endorsed the concept of parental alienation. And I'll mention a couple: the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the Association of Family and Conciliation Courts, and there are others. And then we also list a number of reference books, huge authoritative books that talk about parental alienation. So it's not just incorrect, it's really a lie for people to say that it has not been accepted by professional organizations. So that is a very common misstatement. Let's see if there's some others. We have a number. Oh, here's an interesting one. It's on page 29. It starts, the report is incorrect when it says, here it is. So this is sort of an interesting one. And I'm just giving you some examples that we have 30 or 40 of these, but I'm giving you the ones that are more vivid. The report from the special rapporteur says, academic experts have noted the concerning development whereby reputable academic journals in the field of psychology are publishing articles that promote the notion of alienating behaviors without applying the usual standards of scientific rigor and peer review, or not allowing a right of response to authors whose studies are the subject of the criticism. Well, let me spell this out. First of all, she is absolutely correct that we have published, my colleagues and I have published articles in really important journals, very important journals in psychology and in psychiatry. And I mentioned some examples here. So they are correct when they say that reputable academic journals have published about this topic. One's called Psychology, Public Policy and Law. One's called the Journal of Forensic Sciences, and there's some others. But what they are claiming is that these journals publish articles about parental alienation without doing peer review. That's a lie. That's a blatant misinformation. It's a false statement, and it's kind of insulting to say that these extremely prestigious journals are not conducting peer review, that they're simply automatically publishing articles about parental alienation. And all of us have been through this. The parental alienation scholars have been very successful in this part of the battlefield. We've been very successful in getting articles and book chapters published by really good journals. And they all get peer reviewed, and they all get sent back with corrections and rewrites and submissions and so on. So, and then what's interesting is, what is their evidence for saying that that doesn't happen? They quote in a footnote, they say, expert consultations conducted by the special rapporteur was the basis for saying that articles are not peer reviewed, and for saying that articles that oppose parental alienation are not published. Well, who is that? What is this expert consultation? They don't say who it is. As a matter of fact, we think we know who it was just because we recognize the phraseology of some of this, but I'm not going to mention that right now. But we think we know where this information comes from. And it is basically a lie to say that. Now, they're complaining that articles opposing parental alienation theory aren't published. And that's true also. But that's because they're not very good articles. In other words, it's actually only incompletely, it's an incomplete statement because I need to explain something, that there actually is a journal. There is one journal of psychology that actually does publish the articles that oppose parental alienation. And that's public information. That's not a secret. The name of the journal is the Journal of Child Custody. And that has printed dozens of articles that are critical of parental alienation theory. But the really reputable, prestigious journals don't do that because they don't approve. They don't think they're good articles. So anyway, that's a pretty dramatic example of misinformation. So there's another category in our paper here, in our analysis, which has to do with different countries. What we did when we put together our team, we purposefully got together contributors from several different countries, including Australia, Germany, Sweden, Mexico, Canada, and Poland, and maybe one or two other places, because the report from the special rapporteur mentions citations from a number of different countries. And so we wanted to have on our own team people from these countries who can comment on the misstatements, the misinformation that's published in the report. And just let me give you a couple of examples. One of them is an incident that actually happened just a week or so ago. This is interesting. The country of Ireland, about a year ago, the Department of Justice of the country of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, commissioned a study to study parental alienation theory as it occurs in Ireland and also in other countries. They wanted a better understanding of this topic. And they hired a group of people in Ireland to do this, and they worked very hard and diligently. And only 2 weeks ago, the Department of Justice of Ireland produced their report. It's pretty good. It's even-handed. It says a lot about that describes parental alienation accurately. It summarizes some of the criticisms of parental alienation. So it's not totally one-sided. It actually is pretty good at presenting both sides, although their ultimate conclusion is that parental alienation is real and it needs to be taken into consideration in family court and in other settings. So that was a really important event that just occurred a couple of weeks ago. Well, ironically, the report from the special rapporteur implies that Ireland doesn't like the concept. In fact, what they said, the government of Ireland commissioned research on how other jurisdictions approach parental alienation and announced an open consultation on whether any legislative policy changes are required. So the implication was that Ireland was going to find something wrong, that they were searching for something wrong with parental alienation. But that's not how it turned out at all. So I mean, I would just consider it somewhat misleading that they jumped the gun, that the special rapporteur kind of suggested that Ireland was going to be critical of parental alienation when in fact it wasn't. And I'll give you another example that's right below that. Israel, they made several comments about Israel. Well, one of the members of our writing group was Judge Marcus, who is a judge, a family court judge from Israel, although he's now retired. And he wrote a really nice critique of what the report said about Israel. And he basically said that it misrepresents what actually happens when family law situations come before courts in Israel. So I'm not going to go through every page here, but those are some examples of how we were able to show that fundamentally the entire report has a bias. That secondly, there are dozens of examples of misinformation. And thirdly, different countries have rebutted the comments made about those countries. So that's what we did in our analysis. We did this very quickly. The entire shebang was put together in about 2 weeks, which was important because, as Petra has said, this topic is going to be discussed in the Human Rights Council, which we think meets in Geneva, starting on June the 19th. And so when is that? That's 2 weeks from today. And so we really need to get the word out to the people who are in that meeting, which means very many countries have representatives on the Human Rights Council.
And the other thing, you mentioned how like this analysis found so many things wrong with the report. Another thing to point out is when you read the report, virtually every paragraph, there's everything wrong, like there's things wrong with every paragraph in that report.
It's not subtle. I mean, it is obvious that the people who put the report together have a bias and that they're opposed to parental alienation theory. And I don't know why. I have no idea what is in their background that makes them feel this way, because what is the actual truth? In other words, there's some conflict between people who are concerned about domestic violence and people who are concerned about parental alienation. But what is the truth? I'll tell you what I think the truth is. That domestic violence is a really big problem, and it affects thousands and thousands of families, and it's very sad and it's very painful. And sometimes domestic violence is misrepresented. Well, parental alienation is a very big problem, and it affects thousands of children and families, although sometimes it's being misrepresented. So both of these things are really important. There's no reason why the domestic violence people should have to tear down the parental alienation people just to kind of get ahead in this contest. They're both very important topics, and they both need to be recognized, and governments need to help to try to deal with these issues. But the idea that you have to totally get rid of parental alienation scholarship in order to promote domestic violence scholarship is ridiculous.
Right, and in fact, parental alienation is a particular type of domestic violence.
And
it's
also
a very hostile and aggressive type of domestic violence.
Yeah,
actually.
Of course it is. And the other thing, of course, is this report from the special rapporteur is supposed to be representing the interests of women. And obviously women are the victims of domestic violence, but women are also the victims of parental alienation. There are situations where the dad is the alienating parent and the mom is the rejected parent, and she is the victim of parental alienation. And what they're doing by trying to get rid of parental alienation, they're damaging all these women who are victims of parental alienation. So that is also tragic. So and we mentioned that. That's one of the things we mentioned in the executive summary, that this whole thing is tragic. And in fact, another point in the executive summary is that this whole thing is promoting dissension. It's promoting, their report is promoting polarization and fighting among these different components, the domestic violence people and the parental alienation people. And that's the last thing the Human Rights Council should be doing. They should be helping different points of view collaborate and learn from each other. So there are so many things wrong with this report. We're hoping that the Human Rights Council representatives will realize that and will not accept it.
Yeah, and I mean, I see in the comment, even in the chat room, many of the people appear to be female. I mean, you know, I saw, for example, Alexandra said, "This makes me so mad." You know, I see like a lot of people I know that are female. Melissa, what is it, Claudia, and not only that, what this does is that not only they did nothing to help with this the experience and the trauma that caused to people like me who are the children that suffer, denying that is like another level on top of that, is adding to the abuse. Because not only you did not do anything to rescue us, to help us, now you're denying my life experience as a children, that I grew up with that, and denying my suffering, and like, yeah, you're adding to the abuse, and just this is just outrageous. So I do see a lot of comments from people that are asking for the email addresses. So just let us know. And also, yeah, if you are female and you believe that this is damaging to other women, or if you are men that you believe that this is damaging for women, please let us know. And yeah, let us know if you want to comment. If you want the email addresses. If you have trouble finding the report and the analysis of the report, let us know. We will send you whatever you need. And please take a few moments to send the email out to your ambassador to your country. And if your country has a representative in the Human Rights Council, please do that, as well as send it to the Human Rights Council actually have a common email address for the whole council as well. You can send the email to that as well to let them know, because that way, the more people getting complain about this, the more we have, you know, you have a chance of stopping this. I see Sandy said, "I need a report, please." I see Crystal said, "Appreciate you pointing this out. I have 2 daughters who were also in a situation." I saw comments from Dawn, said, "Thank you for the important work." I did see some question earlier. I want to make sure I don't miss anything, and let us know if you have any other question. Let me see. I know I saw a question earlier. I apologize. Okay, I saw a question from Bernet that asked, "There's so much effort going on into the denial of the office, and I wonder why that should be." And I think Dr. Bernet kind of touched on it, is that for some reason, the people who are advocating for victims of domestic violence believe that they have to destroy this concept of parental alienation in order to further their cause. For some reason, we, the victims of parental alienation, have made into the sacrificial, you know, thing for them. And it's
I'll
really
tell you
strange.
another reason for the attack is I really, in modesty, would say that I think my colleagues and I have been very successful in terms of the academic battleground. We've published articles in really important journals, really important research, hundreds of research papers, book chapters and books. I mean, it's just overwhelming. And what we haven't been successful at is on the political battleground, is the people who are our opponents are a little bit better at dealing with politics. And they've done that in the United States Congress, and now they're doing it in the United Nations and in other countries in Europe, actually. So we need to get our act together a little bit better. So please contact. Also, if you happen to know somebody who actually works at the United Nations in almost any capacity, please let them know what's going on, because see, they might know how to send something to have an influence. In other words, to the, you know, for instance, to the chairman of the Human Rights Council or whatever. I actually knew a woman who was a representative from the United States she wasn't the ambassador, but she was the representative to one component of the United Nations. It was a few years ago, and I'm trying to track her down to see if she can put us in touch with somebody. But you know, it's a small world, and in some places we do have connections. Like in Mexico, our colleague in Mexico knows he's a psychiatrist, and he knows the ambassador from Mexico to the United Nations, who is also a psychiatrist. So we do have some personal connections that we hope to make use of. But if anybody listening to this, if you know anybody who works at the United Nations, send them the information and see if they can help us out.
Yeah.
And also, I'll do one more thing. Journalists, it would be great to get some articles out in mainstream newspapers in the next week or so about this. And so if you happen to have a connection with somebody in the Washington Post or the LA Times or the Chicago Tribune, see if they're interested in this topic, because it's a colorful and provocative thing to write about right now.
Right. So like Dr. Bernet mentioned, that we have the science behind us. You know, the professionals have done their job, like the researchers, you know, have done their job. The thing is, science is being misused. It's being denied, and misinformation is right now successful at spreading everywhere to distort fact and distort science. So it's actually the job of the rest of the community. It's your job to now take it from here, because the scientists done their job, they've done the research, they, you know, and they're doing great, and there's still more work. They're still working on it. But as a community, what we are missing is the marketing side of it, is the lobbying side of the advocacy side of it. And I do understand as a community, you know, it's a community of victims. You know, you're suffering, you have your personal situation to deal with, and it's painful and it's challenging. And the thing is hard to see beyond your case here, but what you don't see is what's out there is what are actually impacting your personal case. So it doesn't matter how small your contribution is, and we're not even talking about money, taking the time to send a few emails, things like that, can make a huge difference to your personal case. And so that's really important. I see a question from John said, Bill, you also need a lot more help. What other groups in the US are you working with and have asked for help? I feel the Parenting Rights Foundation and the National Parents Organization can help us. So by the way, the National Parent Organization is a very active and very supportive organization. They do believe in the work, you know, they do believe in the work in parental alienation as a damaging concept. They do believe in protecting children, and they definitely support of this concept. They are an active partner. And even, for example, this today is a part of, you know, many organizations behind this, for example, Parental Alienation UK, and I forgot, but there's many organizations that behind this particular interview right now. So there's a lot of people behind this, but we can always do with more. So if you know more organization, please let them know. Please help us spread the word. And Bill continue. John continues saying we can use their database. Also tap into legislators who contact the United Nations. Also, we need to then generate a statement on all social media platforms. You then need to generate press release to all media outlets and the radio stations. And this is the thing, I think that's all great ideas, but we need someone who can actually take these actions, because we don't have the manpower here to do it. I mean, we do what we can, but I think that's great ideas. And if you know how to do that, please help out. Please raise your hand and let us know. And he said, you have to reach out Nikki Haley office and have different people follow up with her daily on the campaign and ask questions. And this is I wanted to point out, we don't have a big machine with, you know, big organization and you know, people on payrolls to do things. We actually need you, the parents, the people out there that are the victims, to stand up and help with this. So I think this is a great idea for a very successful campaign, John. And I think since it's your idea, I would love to see you to raise your hand up and lead this effort. And if you want to have more volunteers, I'm happy to help calling out for more volunteers so that you can help coordinate this, because I think that's a great idea to reach out to media, arrange, reach out to the Council of Foreign Affairs. This will get pass at the United Nations if we do not get enough powerful and influential behind us. Let's see if Mike Huckabee or Fox or New York Post could pick this up. I think this is so important. I think you have such an incredible idea, John. So, you know, anybody out there, if you feel that this is an important matter, please raise your hand to help. And I really hope that you, John, could be the lead on this effort. And I will help directing any parents that are happy to volunteer this. I know there are other people that are trying to work on this as well. I'm happy to directing them to you, or any parents that are willing to stand up and be the lead for this, because we need someone to coordinate this. And we have a very short time, like Dr. Bernet mentioned, we have 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, because the meeting's starting in 2 weeks. Okay. I do see Crystal talk about her situation, and she's a mother. She's a female, a woman that isn't going to be impacted by this. And then Dawn in the chat said this also destroys the relationship with the grandparents. Absolutely. And yeah, we're talking about grandmothers too, like women that's gonna be harmed by this. And Bernard said, I know of women who are genuine victims of mothers of victims of parental alienation. I saw Claudia said, we are the machine. Yes. Somebody please raise your hand and be the lead to coordinate this. I apologize. I don't have the bandwidth right now to lead this effort. But if somebody could just raise your hand, message me, message us, put in a comment or whatever to let us know that you would be coordinating this media campaign. I think John's idea is amazing. Any other idea that you have, just let us know. And if somebody can be the lead and anybody else want to volunteer in this effort, and then for every parent, please, if you are willing to send out a few emails, let us know, because I will give you the email address for your representative and the link to the report, the link to the analysis, and any information that you need. And please help us share this as wide and far as you can. If you have any other comment or questions, you put it in the comment. Dr. Bernet, is there anything else that you wanted to cover, and any final words before we go?
Well, I really appreciate everybody's attention. And Petra mentioned a number of good ideas that have been mentioned by other people. We put a huge amount, we put hundreds of hours into this in the last couple of weeks just to get this document together. But we have distributed it as best we can. But we really do need to get it out to the media. I mean, we haven't done a press release. I don't think we know how to do a press release. But if somebody knows how to do that kind of thing and knows how to contact major newspapers, that would be really great. And if you can help us do that, we can certainly provide the documents and the background. But incidentally, take a look at the analysis, because the analysis really explains the introduction and the executive summary really explains the situation really well. If you could get a newspaper person to read those 3 pages, they would understand what's going on, and maybe they can write it up.
Yeah, if we could get some media attention, that would definitely help, because it is such a violation of power, abuse of power, because she was given the power to create something that is supposed to represent, unbiased. Actually, it's actually a requirement by the United Nations in their code of ethics or code of conduct that talk about the inclusion and objectivity and the non-bias in the way that they do business and in the way that they do their report and things like that. And this is completely against that code of conduct. So the complete violation of all that. And then on top of that, it's the impact of this in terms of like the violation of human rights is a very serious matter. So definitely everyone. Okay, Melissa said, okay, so Equal Parenting International, if you look at the description of this video, you will find a link to the report as well as this analysis that we just talked about. And if it's not there, I will make sure I will update that. And then I saw Sandy asking for the email address. I will give it to you after this, within today. And then Melissa said, could we have a meeting to events so that we can coordinate the effort? Melissa, do you want to take the lead on this? I just need someone who would be willing to take the lead. So if somebody can let me know you're willing to take the lead, I can direct everything to you. And I'm happy to provide, a Zoom platform, from my pro account so that you guys can use it for communication, whatever, etc. Okay, John said that he might be willing. Thank you so much, John, please, because I think you have the idea. Very, very good idea, very systematic, very thorough. I love that. And I know there are people that will support you and will be behind you. So if you want to be the lead, please let me know and I will direct everyone to you. Okay, don't say we're going to get a copy. Because I want to send to the media. Yeah, Dawn, the same thing. I will either look at the description of this video or I will respond to you within today. And Alessandra said she would be happy to volunteer to co-work with someone who is leading this. So yeah, great. Thank you so much, parents. I saw Claudia and I know Rael is also working on this. And I also know a huge group of people that are also willing to work on this behind the scene, but we need a lead to coordinate all this. So thank you so much, everyone. And Dr. Bernet, thank you so much for your time, not just for this, but for the cause, for your work for years over this matter to help children. And thank you so much, parents. Please help share this. And I will see you guys soon. Please join the mailing list if you are not already joined the mailing list on victimtohero.com website. You will saw the mailing list link. I know we haven't been sending emails, but we will, with special matters, we will. And also, we have some other events coming up soon. So check out on Victim to Hero event page on Facebook. And I know the website hasn't been updated, but a lot of things are on Facebook. And we will post this on YouTube as well. So thank you so much, everyone, and stay wonderful.
Bye-bye.